Manila,'s biggest casino, especially in Hooters. All my dear friends and my dear couples and their families and friends, I'm so honored when I was asked and invited to become your guest speaker tonight. I'm so thrilled to be part of this reunion since I consider the Very Help of Christians Seminary as an extended family. Meeting and seeing all of you here is like meeting and seeing members of a clan. My next concern when I considered to give this speech was my topic. And so I asked Kabalings Henry and Nick for suggestions, and they gave me a very good suggestion. And they said, "Bahala ka na, Kabalings." And so I thought of reminiscing the past and how it has formed us and shaped us into what we are now. And I would like to start by recalling our formators and their antics by which they are well remembered. And during our time, Father Victor Holdebrady, I don't know if some of you know him. He was our rector. He was that tall, fierce-looking man from the formerly Czechoslovakia who used to say, "You have bagoong in your head," whenever you failed to answer his questions. And that was followed by a kind of punishment when he said, "Right, I will study my lesson well 100 times. I don't know if you have ever experienced that in some of your formators before in the seminary. Well, nonetheless, he was well loved by the seminarians for his fatherly care, especially attested by the fact that several of us used to line up outside his office to receive an evening treat. And do you know what it was? Either a growth hormone injection or labatiba. Right, Carlos? Remember that? Nobody used to like the prefect of discipline, especially when you get caught for your mischief. Right, Father Demi? He was our prefect on the second half of our seminary formation when the SBD turned over to the secular priest. Well, during our time, on our first 2 years there, we had a sneaky Argentine priest by the name of Father Isidoro Kemmerer. And I was not spared from his signature punishment. Now, one evening, some classmates and I were caught unaware of misbehaving during the study period, when suddenly we heard him calling, "Visperas, De Vera, Macaranas, Mendoza, come here!" And then he asked us to line up on the corridor, and then he said, "Kneel down, extend your hands by your side." So we were kneeling down and we were extending our hands by our side, and then he said, "Stick your tongue in and out." So it was embarrassing, but it was kind of funny also. And another thing, who would forget the gentle, soft-spoken spiritual director, Father John Healy? Aside from inspiring us spiritually, he also taught us the correct American English grammar and the right pronunciation. For those who under him, I wonder if you still remember that article THE, the, how you're going to pronounce it when it is the or the, right? And do you remember Father Peter Michael? Anybody who remembers Father Peter Michael from Germany? Aside from teaching Latin to the seminarians, he also had another interest. Any guess? There was his poultry of pigs. And the seminarians will know or can smell when he is coming close. However, He made Latin more interesting and easy for us with his mnemonic rule, like the Bubaka Papak said human. So he made us lots of mnemonic rules. Now, my dear friends, these formator priests had left an indelible mark on our character during our seminary formation, but also our lay teachers. Remember Miss Jovita Gonzalo, who dedicated her entire life teaching in the seminary such that she could well earn the title of the Immaculate Mother of the Seminarians. Or Miss Eugenia Lumibao, who taught algebra, geometry, and physics, but she took a long time to figure out mathematically when is the right time to marry, because she got married at an advanced age. Now, do you remember Mama Dor, who used to work in the kitchen? And Mama Catalino, who used to clean our restrooms? I remember one time we were in line waiting to receive our ration of tinapay for our afternoon snack. And Mama Dor was not available. Then suddenly, Mama Catalina appeared to distribute the tinapay. And you know what happened? The long line of hungry seminarians suddenly faded one by one. They left. Why? Because it was not Mama Dor, but Mama Catalino, who just cleaned the toilet, who was giving the tinapay. But you know, they too were part of our seminary formation. Now, our time in the seminary was very unique. We had our own ways and terms to do and call things. Minas. Does it sound familiar to you? Minas was a popular term for extra food to supplement our breakfast of tuyo and boiled eggs, or pansit na may sahog na sardinas. Do you remember those food?
Yes.
And do you remember that mongo that solidifies like gelatin? Even though you put the mongo upside down, it's not going to fall. So remember those days. Now, it was during our seminary days when some of us were baptized second time with more popular names like Pagok, Lubong, Sapatos, mga pangalan. In fact, our class can make up a zoo since we called nicknames like Manok, Pusa, Aso, Bakas, Elepante, Caballo. So we had all these pangalan for our classmates. Now take note of this. It is a confession and a revelation. And it was only lately that I learned some of us had ways to escape punishment or detention from the priest when the seminarian did something wrong. And you know what? Go to confession to all the priests and you are saved with a seal of confession. So if you go to them, they cannot say, oh, this seminarian did this thing. So they cannot send you, because when you confess to them, they have the seal of confession. And that's what my classmates did. So they went to the different priests to confess, and they were saved from their mischief. Well, my dear friends, I am sure every one of you has stories to share from your experiences during your seminary days. Perhaps you can still remember when you escaped from the seminary one evening. Or perhaps you can still remember when you picked the right papaya from the back of the seminary and ate it at the grotto behind the seminary. Or perhaps you remember how you used to take a peek at the girls from BCHS over the balcony. Our seminary days is rich with different stories and experiences. As we recall and reminisce our seminary days, we cannot deny the fact that a part of us now is a product of that unique formation. Whether or not we have the intention or desire to become a priest at one point, our seminary formation has left us an indelible character in our person that once we were seminarians and we take pride in it. And that's the only reason that we are bonded up to the present. I remember that there was a question that was asked at the interview before one is accepted in the seminary. Do you remember the question? The question was, why do you want to enter the seminary? Remember that question in the form? Now, I don't know about you, but when I was faced with that question, honestly, at age 13, when I entered the seminary, I didn't understand the question. I didn't have the plan to become a priest. I only learned about the seminary because of my older cousin, Visperas, whom we used to visit on his day off, on Thursdays and Sundays. In fact, when I filled up the application form, I asked an older seminarian, who is now a priest also, Father Rafi Cruz, what to answer the question. And we invented the answer saying that I was convinced to become a priest by an uncle who is a priest. Was it true? No, it was a lie. So the story of my vocation is started with a lie, but God turns out something seemingly negative into a blessing according to His plan. Now, our class, we call ourselves Theresians 78, is still bonded to this time. As we look back to our lives, we are very much indebted to the kind of formation that the seminary days had offered and provided us. In gratitude, we gave back to the seminary, putting up a project for the benefit of the future and hopeful priest. Our class, Theresians 78, donated the system for purifying the drinking water for the use of the seminary. In addition, 12 seminarians in our class, myself included, put into writing and compiled a book, the story of our vocation from the seminary to either the priesthood or parenthood. And the proceeds of the sale of this book goes to the seminary. And the book is entitled Neither Angels Nor Scoundrels. In all our writings, our seminary days are always recounted as one of the foundations of who we are. Our seminary formation has formed and molded us into what we have become at present. Whatever walks of life we have chosen. We have a banker, we have a lawyer, we have nurse, we have priest, and we even have an ex-priest in our class. Now at this point, I would like to bring your attention back to that question when we entered the portals of our beloved MHCS. Why do you want to enter this seminary? Try to recall what you answered. Perhaps you also told some lies, just like me, to be accepted. Whatever your answers were, what matters now is what the seminary formation has given you. What did you learn from the seminary? And how did the seminary formation help you at present? If you want to bring it a little bit farther and make a difference, you can ask yourselves, how can we give back to the seminary? I know that you did not learn how to meet your wives or how to form a family of your own in the seminary. You did that later. I hope I'm right. But I know some of you recall and relate your seminary days to your families and friends and take pride in it. You still tell stories to your wife, to your children about your days in the seminary. And I know some of you support some seminarians or the seminary in some way as a way of giving back. As we reminisce our seminary days, know that we are also the living manifesto whom the church or whom the seminary cherish. We are grateful that once we have trod the grounds of the seminary in our lifetime. And we are proud to be alumni of the Mary Help of Christians Minor Seminary. God bless you all. Thank you.
Alright, some activities during the evening. We're gonna have intermissions of games like if you have been watching the GMA, GMA. In Bulaga, right? We have the Pinoy Henyo. We're gonna make this into Seminario Henyo. Okay? We need 2 participants, volunteers. Later on, we're gonna do it right now. Okay. The meantime, as our introducer and welcomer said, we have to know each other too well because of that there are a lot of long lapses and years. So here we go, we're gonna start right now.
Iya mungkin san. Mr. Hendrik.
Good morning, MACS! How are you doing? Hina, kumain na kayo. Hindi ba yung broadcast? Good morning, MACS! How are you doing? Alright, shall we move on? Okay, thank you. Now, Henry, I need you here, please. Okay, we're going to make a roll call. All those who attended